Hey, what's up? This is Nathan from Gotcha SEO, and in this video, I'm going to show you how to use DomCop to find expired domains. So let me start by saying that DomCop is a software that allows you to find expiring domains, expired domains, and archived domains. And the reason why DomCop is such an effective tool is because you have the capability to filter all of these domains and all of these opportunities that you see based on certain criteria. And so in this case, and the way that I'm going to be doing it, the way I'm going to be showing you is going to be based on a lot of link metrics, because that's really what our focus is when we're trying to find quality expired domains. And just to keep in mind, DomCop does cost money to use, but it is definitely worth the investment if you're serious about finding high quality expired domains, because it helps you be more efficient. And when you're more efficient, you're going to save a lot of time. And that means you probably will see an ROI from the cost of using this tool, because you're going to be saving a lot of time. And most importantly, you're going to be able to find domains that are ultimately going to help you grow your organic search traffic and improve your SEO performance, which ultimately leads to more customers for your business. So as you can see here in the dashboard, there is a lot going on, and I'll real quickly just show you basically the way that my mind works when I'm inside their dashboard. I usually start with expiring domains, and the reason for that is because they're the highest quality opportunities. Then I'll go into the expired domains and I'll go into the archived domains. There are many ways to go about this, but I personally prefer to start with expiring domains. So the first thing that you need to do is click on the Show Filter option. Then click on the Simple option, because this is going to allow us to create our own filter for vetting these expired domains. So I'm just going to do a couple settings here so we have a wider base of domains. So the first setting that I'm going to do is set the Majestic Trust Flow minimum to 10. Then I'm going to set the Majestic backlinks to 5. So the main reason why we want to keep this total backlinks lower is depending on the strategy that you're going to use. So for example, if you're going to use the white hat alternative to PBNs, then the total amount of linking root domains going to a domain doesn't matter as much, because what you're trying to do is just find quality links that you're trying to extract from that domain and ultimately drive back to your website. In that case, you don't need a lot of linking root domains, but when it comes to either the merger technique or if you want to take on the risk and use PBNs, you're going to want to find domains that have a lot of linking root domains and obviously a lot of high quality linking root domains. But just for this example, I'm going to set it low so we can kind of get a wider pool of domains to examine. The last filter you'll want to set is a minimum of 10 domain authority, or DA. So the main reason why setting these filters and setting these minimums is because we want to just basically get rid of any low quality domains that are basically just going to waste our time when we're trying to go through these domains and trying to qualify these domains. And so anything that has less than a DA 10 or anything less than a trust flow of 10 is probably not going to be a great opportunity. This isn't always the case, but in many cases, any domains that have metrics lower than those minimums probably are not ones you want to be pursuing. You can always adjust this later, but just for this example, we're going to keep these minimums. So go ahead and keep all of these listing types on. And as far as the industries, I would just do all industries for now, because this category selection is based on Majestic's topical trust flow topics. If you're trying to get a wider pool of domains, you probably just want to keep it as all industries. But if you want to get more specific and target domains that are very relevant to your business, which if you're doing the merger technique, this might be a good idea, then you would want to set the specific industry. But for now, let's just do all industries. And then also, I'm just going to set .com, .net, and .org for the TLDs. And then just hit search. And there are more advanced options that you can pick, but for this particular example, we're just going to keep it as simple as possible. So what you're going to notice right away is that these expiring domains come with a very high price tag. And the reason for that is because these have a lot of value, because they haven't been spammed in the past a lot of the time, and they usually have really good link profiles. So you're going to have people competing in auctions to get these domains because they know the value that they have. And so that drives the prices up. So your goal is ultimately to find domains that are not overvalued. So let's take a look at this website here, and we'll determine whether it is overvalued or undervalued. So it is currently at $2,400 for this domain. So now our goal is to see if this domain is actually worth $2,400 in value. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this domain and I'm going to throw it into Ahrefs and we're going to analyze the link profile. So right away, I can see that this domain is probably using some type of blog network to fuel or grow its authority. So this is definitely a domain that is not worth that price. And so this is one you would want to avoid at all costs. So the main point here is for you to see that this domain is extremely overvalued and not worth that price. So really, as you do this process more, you're going to start to identify and be able to determine the value of a domain and also determine whether the value matches the price. So that's what you will begin to get a lot better at as you look at more domains and do more analysis. So now let's sort this list by price range. So this domain right here has a trust flow of 15 and a DA of 45. So it looks like the starting price for this domain is $24. So let's do a little bit deeper analysis to see if it's worth the price or even worth pursuing at all. So right away, I see that this domain has a link from Wikipedia and it has a link from the Democratic National Convention. So these are both really good signs right off the bat. Also, it looks like there is a link from a Japanese version of Wikipedia. A lot of people who are trying to vet expired domains or find high quality expired domains, when they see any type of foreign language in the link profile, they immediately get turned off. And this can be a mistake because not every foreign-based link or anchor text is a low quality link. So in this example, it is a Japanese version of Wikipedia, which means it's not a low quality link. It is actually a high quality link. Although it is the case in many scenarios where you see foreign anchor text or you see foreign links, it's probably an indication that it's a low quality opportunity, but you shouldn't immediately discredit a domain when you see any type of foreign language, because this is an example why that might be a bad idea. When we scroll down further, it looks like we have the New York Times, and we also have Politico as one of their links as well. So now what I want to do is make sure that these links are still live. So I'm going to search on each of these pages to see if these links are still live, because this looks like, just based on the quality of the link profile, that this is a good opportunity for an expired domain. So after a quick search, this link looks like it's still live on the Democratic National Convention. So that's a very, very good sign. So now let's go through and see if these other links are live as well. And it looks like they are. This is starting to look like a really great opportunity for getting a high quality expired domain. So now that we know this is a good opportunity, that we need to pursue it a little bit further, what we want to do is take the domain name and throw it into archive.org, or also known as the Wayback Machine. Because what you want to do is see if this domain has been used for any type of spam in the past, or used as a private blog network, or used in a way that it wasn't originally designed to be used, because that's what we really want to avoid at all costs. So right away, we can tell that this site has been used for some type of spam. It was used to promote some type of casino website or casino blog, or even used as a way just to flow link equity to another casino website. This is an automatic red flag, and this domain needs to be disqualified because of its history. So one thing to consider in this process is your order of operations. So for me personally, when I find a domain, I like to just throw it right into Ahrefs and just see what the link profile is looking like. But you could certainly reverse this order of operations, and whenever you find a domain, immediately throw it into archive.org and see if it's been spammed. So you can do either way you want. You're going to end up at the same result ultimately, but sometimes it can be faster just to go directly to archive to see if it's been spammed before even getting deep into the link profile. So that's just something to consider when you're going through this process. So basically at this point, we're just going to go through this process over and over until we find some quality expired domains that we can leverage. So the nice thing about DomCop is that right below here, you can actually see they show you the trust flow. So let's say, for example, I wanted to find some expired domains that I could leverage for Gotcha SEO. What I'd want to do is I'd want to go back to the filter and go to the All Industries tab and change it to be specific to the industry that Gotcha SEO is in. So that would be the business industry or anything closely related to that. But for this example, I'll choose the business industry. So now I'm going to search again, and then I'm going to try to find any expired domains that are relevant to Gotcha SEO. And then we're going to go from there and see if we can get a little bit deeper in the analysis and ultimately try to find a domain that we can actually use or leverage. So I'm going to go ahead and grab this domain right here and then throw it into the Wayback Machine. So just based on what we see here in the Wayback Machine, it appears that this domain used to be a web design company. And believe it or not, sometimes old web design companies that have gone out of business and now their domains are obviously expired are really great opportunities, because a lot of web design companies will drop a link to their website in their client's website footer. And as a result, this really helps build the authority of these web design companies' websites. So now we'll throw this domain into Ahrefs, and like I expected, they have links that say powered by, or basically links that are in footers on their clients' websites. And another important point to keep in mind is that their footer links are not keyword rich. And so that's really important. If you're going to get a domain that has footer links previously, you want to make sure that the anchor text that they used is either branded, an empty anchor, or something really generic, because footer links can be dangerous if they are keyword rich. So just based on what we found in archive.org, and based on the link profile, and based on the type of links that this domain is currently showing, this would be a domain that you'd want to do deeper research for. So you could add it to your watch list, and you could do more research on it later. So basically what you're trying to do in this first round is just identify a list of domains that at least meet the minimum criteria, and then you can go deeper into your analysis later on. Now, of course, this opportunity isn't the most high quality one I've ever seen, but in this scenario where you have a domain that has decent links, you could always use it as a tier 2 property that you could 301 redirect to other tier 1 properties in your link profile. So for example, let's say you have a really high quality website or micro website, you could actually drive this particular expired domain to your micro website, which would ultimately link to your main website. And so that's just one way to keep your main website safe, and you have that nice buffer in between. And the main reason is because this particular opportunity, although it does have a lot of links and a lot of site-wide footer links, the problem is that these links aren't super relevant because they're just footer links placed on completely unique client sites. So they're going to be in totally different industries, and ultimately they're not going to be totally relevant for your business. So in this case, it'd be a good idea to probably not hit your site directly with this particular expired domain or its links. So let's go back to the list, and I'm going to scroll through here, and right away I see many, many domains with weird numbers and weird names. I outright avoid these domains. I don't even look at them because they just look spammy. And so if it looks spammy, smells spammy, it probably is spammy. So I just avoid it altogether. And I try to find domains that have legit brand names or just names in general. So let's check out this domain, 123 Get Customers. And one thing you can do if you really like a domain is you can just hit this little star button, and it will add it to your watch list, which you could go on and do further analysis on later on. So let's go ahead and take a look at this website and see what it looks like. So it looks like it is another web design company. It also looks like, based on its history, that it hasn't been spammed in the past, so that's a really good thing. So now let's add this domain to Ahrefs to do our second qualifying method. So right away, it's pretty easy to tell that this domain does not have many high quality links, if any at all. And the one red flag that really stands out is that this web design company used keyword rich anchor text in their footer links on their client's website. And so this is a very dangerous thing to do, and definitely not something you'd want to be involved with if you were looking for quality expired domains. So this domain is definitely unqualified, and you're going to want to move on to the next opportunity. So like I said before, if you find a domain that has at least met the minimum criteria that you're looking for as far as link quality and also the history or use of the domain, you just can click the star button, add it to your favorites, and then you click on the favorites tab, and you can actually just keep track of all these domains and ultimately see if they're in auction, see the price that they're at, and see if they're undervalued so that you can jump on it and maybe secure that domain. So the next thing I want to show you is the expired tab. So the filters are going to be identical for expiring and expired domains, because really the criteria for qualifying a domain doesn't change based on how this domain or its current state is. So right away, we see this domain, Buy Hermes Bag Online. This is going to be spam. You don't even want to do a deeper analysis. In a lot of scenarios, you're just going to have to use your best judgment. And it's pretty easy. You can tell when a domain is probably not a real business, not a real website. And therefore, if it's not either of those things, it's probably going to also use low quality link acquisition strategy. Just stay away from, don't even waste your time. Focus on domains that at least look like they used to be businesses. So let's take a look at this domain, which is ishouldbedoinghomework.com. So just based on what we see here, it looks like this domain was used as a private blog network at some point. And the one way that you can make this determination is just by looking at the outbound links and looking at how irrelevant they are throughout the website. And so it's pretty easy to tell what a private blog network or even a public blog network looks like just because of these irrelevant outbound links. So this domain is definitely unqualified and not one we'd want to focus on at all, really, after this point. So although this is not a domain you'd want to buy, you can still leverage this domain because one good thing that happens when you find a expired domain that's already been used as a private blog network is that you can assume, or at least hypothesize, that the person who bought this expired domain already went through the qualification process before they bought it. Now, this is not always going to be the case, but in a lot of scenarios, they will have bought this domain because it had a quality link profile. It was a quality website. So they've already done all that preliminary work for you. So what you can do is you can leverage this opportunity in a different way. And the best way to do that is to take this domain, throw it into Ahrefs, and see if it has quality links that you could extract away from this domain using the white hat alternative to BBNs. So based on our quick analysis here in Ahrefs, we know that this domain does not have high quality links. So this is not a good situation where you'd want to extract the backlinks from this expired domain because they just simply are not high quality enough and ultimately would not be worth the effort of doing outreach and ultimately having to build relationships with these link prospects. But let's just say hypothetically that this domain did have some high quality link opportunities. What we could do is we would just extract those backlinks. We would find contact information for those link opportunities. And then we would do outreach to let those people know that they are linking out to a dead resource, or even worse, linking out to a private blog network or something that has a negative connotation. Because if you do that, they'll look at you favorably, and that increases your chances that they'll want to replace that dead link with a link to your business or your website. Of course, you should have a relevant opportunity to give them or a relevant opportunity to link to. Otherwise, your conversion rates will be very low. That's a very important point to remember. But the white hat alternative to PBNs is so incredibly effective because you don't even have to buy an expired domain. You can actually just extract all the high quality links away from these expired domains. So now we'll go back to the list of expired domains. And we're just going to keep going through here until we find some quality opportunities, which may take a very long time. But the good news is with expired domains, they are very, very cheap. And when you compare that to expiring domains, there is a huge difference because expiring domains can get very expensive because people are bidding in an auction to secure them. And there's a reason for that because they're usually higher quality domains as opposed to domains that are expired, because a lot of expired domains are people who used and abused these domains and now they're just letting them drop off. So I have always personally preferred expiring domains, which are domains in auction, because first of all, they're usually a lot higher quality. Number two is that many of these expiring domains have not been spammed in the past, because in a lot of cases, they were a real business, they were a real website, and they just expired recently. Therefore, anyone who would have the intention to spam with that particular domain hasn't captured the domain yet. That is not the case with expired domains because those could have already been used many, many times before they expired. And thirdly, the reason why I like expiring domains in auction is because a lot of the domains are indexed in Google, which is very, very important for me because I believe this is an important signal because you do not want to work with an expiring domain that's been de-indexed by Google. So if we take this domain here and click on this little button, it says DomCop claims that this website is not indexed in Google. So just to verify, we'll do a manual search as well. So when you throw in the naked URL, the hope is that the domain shows up right away. And if it doesn't, then you should definitely be worried and probably avoid the domain altogether. So in this case, the domain did not show up in Google. Therefore, it is not a qualified opportunity. So we'll go ahead and take this domain. It looks like it is indexed in Google. So what we'll do is we'll actually go ahead and take it one step further to qualify it and see if it has been used for spam in the past. And so just based on what we're looking at right now, it was used for some type of replica sunglasses spam. So we know that this domain is not qualified. So based on everything that you've seen in this video, it's very easy to tell that it's hard to find high quality expired or expiring domains because there simply are way more low quality opportunities than there are good opportunities. And so it's the classic 80-20 rule. In fact, it's probably even more skewed than that. I'd say probably 1% of available domains are actually worth purchasing or trying to extract links from. You got to continually search, you got to continually refine your list and build your watch list. And over time, you will find quality opportunities, but you really have to be willing to put in the time to find those opportunities because it can be very, very hard to find good ones. The last point is don't feel bad about being picky about what domains you pick because it's very, very important the types of links that are hitting your site. You only want the best of the best links hitting your site. And if they're not the best of the best, if they're just mid-level quality, then at the very minimum, they should be hitting at least your tier 1 property or just don't use them at all. Those are your choices, but when it comes down to it, be very picky when using any type of expired domain strategy. And that's all I really have for you. So I hope this showed you how to use DomCop to find expired domains. And thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.